Hello, I'm Nathan Rivard with the North Dakota National Guard Public Affairs Office, and on this episode of the DeGuards podcast, we have a familiar voice who's done a lot of the majority of the lifting on this podcast, but he accepted another position within the North Dakota National Guard. Staff Sergeant Sam Kroll has taken a position in recruiting and retention, but decided to join us for one last episode to talk about the move. So welcome back, Staff Sergeant Samuel Kroll.
Hey, appreciate it, Nate. Thanks so much for having me here.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So you took a new position over with recruiting and retention as the marketing non-commissioned officer. But before we get into that, you were the host of this podcast, did the majority of the episodes for us. So with hosting the podcast, what would you say you were most proud of accomplishing? What kind of impact did you hope to get out of the podcast? What was really what did you want to do? And do you think you achieved what your goal was?
Yeah, no, I was super proud just to start it. That was the big thing. We know podcasts are pretty normal nowadays. I mean, there's 1,000 of them out there, and a lot of people are using it for their just reading pleasure, right? A lot of people just love listening in and listen to people talk. It's fun. It takes your mind away from a lot of other things and just gets you to focus on a cool topic. I was super, when I first started in VI, I always had this idea of okay, I want to do a podcast. And I had an awesome manager at the time, boss at the time, Kyle Skager, who we actually interviewed. And he's like, go for it. And I did the footwork, and it was awesome. I had never thought in my life I could get to VI and then make a North Dakota Army National Guard, North Dakota National Guard, podcast. And I was able to do that, but that was because he said, let's do it. And he let me go for it. What I was super happy about, and I think I accomplished what I achieved, was one is just getting it started. Sometimes to just, there's a lot of things you think about, op-tempo schedules, when you're going to post, etc. But a lot of the times it's just doing it. Getting it started. If you can get that done, you'll figure out the next foot forward and the next foot forward when coming to create so. But other than that, I think being able to tell a lot of cool people's stories before they retired, Kyle being one of them, stories just to get that out to the field to listen to. And I think that was the biggest point, is to kind of create this environment of transparency between, officers you may see in the field that you'll have to salute, not really get to talk to, but hear from them, listen to them. And then also, too, just listen to a friendly voice. A lot of the times when you're an M-Day soldier, you don't know what's going on besides what's happening at drill. So hearing somebody from the outside of your MOS, and sometimes in different spots and hearing from different people, can really bring a broader perspective when thinking about conversations and what's actually happening in the Guard. So it was really fun, and I think I achieved what I wanted to achieve. I would like to do some more episodes, but hey, I'm here. I can do one more.
Yeah, no, definitely. And, I mean, you talked about being in visual information. I think that's really one of those jobs people don't know exists unless they are in the National Guard and they become full-time and they understand, well, who do I got to go talk to take my command photo? Or I need a DA photo because, I'm a new staff sergeant and I need it for my packet. And then they go, where, who? There's a studio where I can go take my photo. And that was you. And that was your job in VI.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I had no idea what VI was. It was when I was working at 68th Troop Command when I found out what the VI team did. And it was during COVID. We had a photographer/videographer. He was the VI manager at the time, and he was getting all these informational stuff and working with public affairs. So that's when I really found out about the VI team. I didn't know there was a photographer position. So after COVID happened and all that stuff got dwindled, I got an email, from via Global and said photographer, and I was like, what? And it said visual information photographer. Well, a captain at the time said, hey, did you see the job announcement? You're pretty tech savvy. You're pretty artsy. I loved graphic design and digital design growing up, so that was kind of in my field house. And I applied. I love taking photos too personally, but never thought I was any good enough to do the guards, photography. And I applied, did an interview, and I ended up going from being an HR NCO technician to the photographer. Yeah, it's one of those jobs you just don't think about, but when you find it, it's like finding a needle in a haystack. And for the last 3 years, it's been the best, if not one of the most transforming jobs I've ever had.
So we talk about like command photos in the studio, but there's a lot more to it than that. Like we want to talk about like a lot of historical events
Yeah.
that you get to do over the last few years. I mean, just disaster response, people coming home from deployments, large leadership change of commands, like retirements, things like that. Do you think that like changed your military experience to be able to be part of like kind of like the inside seeing this where normally you only see it on social media or on the news, but
Yeah.
you were the person out there being able to see that stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the historical point is everything that happens, right? So your welcome homes, your natural disaster release, and in that you meet so many amazing people. I've worked with, I mean, I'm in the band, right? That was my job before I took this AGR position, and I've got to meet countless of people being in the band, you know, where we go out and we perform for the public, and you get to meet a lot of cool people. So I had some of that, but you kind of stuck to your same unit. So when I got into the VI and started doing natural disaster with the Mandaree fires and the ice jam in Bismarck, and a lot of these different things where you now are working with not just a community, you're working with different units, different people. You're taking photos of those people. You're asking them questions. I had no idea, and now I know so many different people. So the historical part that I loved and I loved about this job was meeting those people, figuring out what they did, and then just hearing like what they had to say about a disaster or how they're responding. So that connection base was just amazing, and that was, if not one of the best things about this job, is I got to service all those people, make them look cool as best as I possibly could. Hopefully they like the photos. But yeah, it was just the community relations part of this job that was absolutely phenomenal.
So you talked about being a member of the band as well. I think that's one of those creative jobs a lot of people also don't realize exists unless they've seen the band somewhere, but they don't think it's something they can do. So what got you into the military? Because obviously it was you joined the band, but what got you into the military?
Well, so surprisingly, I was not intending to join the Guard. I was 16 years old. My grandpa was a drill instructor, but he was a Korean War vet. And from the youngest of times, I remember wanting to be a Marine. So I actually had a packet with the Marine Corps. And I was going to band in high school, right? I played the trumpet. I was like, yeah, this is great. I'll do All-State, try to get my letter, you know, things that look good on resumes. Well, I was going through the process, hadn't finalized anything. And All-State, I auditioned and I got in. And a lady by the name of Sadie Cochran, so if she's listening online, I know she went active, but she was in the bands as well. But at the time, she had just enlisted with the Army band out in Fargo, so the 188th. And she said, have you ever thought about joining the band? And I was like, we have a band? I had no idea. I had absolutely zero clue that there was an Army band in North Dakota. And that changed everything. So I went to Fargo, sat down with a drill, auditioned, failed, and I wanted to do it. It was super fun. It was what I wanted to do in a degree. I was going to go for music ed and performance. And the rest was history. I had gone to Texas for collegiate, or not collegiate, but just a band camp. And I got to meet a bunch of cool, talented musicians out in Texas, came back, and I passed my audition. I learned from some awesome people. Yeah, I enlisted in the Army band in August of, August 29th of 2014, and the rest was history from then. But yeah, I had no idea there was a band, and I went to drill, saw it, and I loved everything that they were about.
So you said something interesting too, is an audition for the band that you failed and had to practice for. I think that's, we always talk about a lot with National Guard, with the Army and Air of, we'll train you for the job.
Yeah.
And that's the most thing, but there's still some of those jobs out there that are that difficult where it's like, you need to be at a certain level of standard before we can come in. And then we're going to send you to school and you still learn all kinds of performances and music and all these different things. I know the schoolhouse is also a huge kick in the teeth of it's a very difficult school to pass. So like what is that audition process for the band and like why is that important?
Yeah, absolutely. So like anything, the band will have a liaison that will come out and audition you. At the time it was Chris Hansen. Now it's CW3 James Landman. Basically, if it's the same, and I would strongly recommend going through with him and making sure I'm saying the right things here. But at the time, it was you had 4 parts of this audition. 2 of the parts were go and no go. And as a trumpet player, those 2 parts were the Army song and the national anthem. So that's part 1. You have to play them exactly how written, accents, all that stuff. Part 2 was bugle calls. Now, there are 1,000 bugle calls, I swear, but you had to get all of those through, same thing, tempo, correct intonations, etc. Once you got goes on those, the audition started, because if you got a no-go, the audition would continue, but you would have failed at that point. They just wouldn't tell you. So I passed both of those, and then you have, I think it's called part, maybe misconstruing part 3 and 4 here, but you have part 3, which is your prepared music. They have to be variations in styles, and usually it's a time requirement. I don't know the exact time that they are, but a samba, a classic, like a classical, a jazz piece, a march, 4 variationing styles of music that you would play. So I played those, and those are graded on a rubric. And then you have part 4 or part 3, either or. This is what we call quickly prepared music. Now, this is the part that's the dangerous part of the audition, because the expectation in the Army bands, or just in the bands in general, is that, well, we'll have a request for an event tomorrow, and I have to be able to play music. So 24 hours prior to the audition, you are sent music, usually 16 selections, 4, and all in varying styles, but 4 of them are roughly around the same styles. So it's 2, 2, 2, 2, whatever. And the commander or your auditioner will sit and say, I want you to play this song. And you had 24 hours to prepare that piece, and you had to perform it as best as you could for the audition. So we call that the quickly prepared. So 24 hours in advance, you get that music, you start woodshedding, and your lips and every part of your body is tired because you're trying to make sure you're getting the right things. That was actually how I failed that first audition. I had over-practiced, or at least I think I over-practiced. Somebody could probably say I sucked. I didn't play the beat at the right tempo, and I just didn't make the cut on it. So that's the quickly prepared. And the score for most instruments besides your vocalists or your drummers are scored on a rubric, like I said, minimum being 18. And I scored a 16 my first time.
So just right below.
Yeah, it was the biggest kick in the teeth. Face, either or.
But so when you talked about that, even when you talked about starting the podcast, of like, yeah, just get it going, fail, but then push on. So you went and got more training, and then came back.
Yeah. A lot of people, and I stick true to my word on this, failure is not something to be afraid of. Failure will make you grow and do things that you never thought you would be able to do. If you take that emotion, that fear, or whatever you feel after failing, don't sit and sob. Take it and do something about it. And it's no different than anything in life, right? If I make a crappy soup, right? This didn't turn out well. What did I do wrong? And you reassess and you make that soup better for the next time. Same thing goes with musicians and practicing. And musicians are constantly working on their craft. And it's no different than learning in general. Once you stop learning, you stop growing. And sometimes a lot of part of learning is failure. So yeah, it's just one of those things where, I failed. Guess what? I still loved playing music. I was going to continue getting better because trumpet players, I'm not going to throw any shade on any other instrument. Trumpet players have a pretty big reputation of being egotistical. So I was like, man, I suck. And then, we want to play high notes and scream and make the jazz band sound great. So, it was, I took that as best as I could and wanted to continue doing. So went down to Texas, came back. And at that point in time, that was the next time. I hadn't failed just one time. I had failed the first time, the second time, scored the same thing. And then I went down to Texas. And then I passed my audition. So it took me 3 times to get into the Army band.
Yeah. So when you talk about perseverance of like, hey, it's not, let me retrain once and I am now perfect.
Absolutely. No, I mean, it's everything. Just keep going. Don't let the shortcomings of the effort you put in be the definition of what you want to become.
So like we're talking about those, creative skill sets, jobs that happen in the military. People don't understand. How do you think that's important to highlight some of those? Like we're gonna have people that, all right, I want to do this specific job, but then they find something else of like, oh, I didn't realize. You're a perfect example of, I didn't realize the band existed.
Yeah. The guard is the best part about this, and what I mean by that is we have so much, not leniency, but fluidity to change and do different things. And the guard has shown over time, right? Like, as a part-time person, your job is to go out and go to drill. But what's your full-time job? I could be a plumber, electrician. I could do something completely separate from what I've done in the guard for the last 10 years. And you will find so much creativity in so many different ways. It doesn't have to be photography or art. Oh my gosh, watching an electrician wire up light switches is insane. I don't know how to do that. I should have took fax class and listened a little bit more. But there's a creative part with any person in the military, and sometimes it's not just that MOS. And as a leader, or just in general as a somebody that's in charge of a section, you're going to find those things in people. And sure, you don't want them to leave your unit, right? But if they can be an asset somewhere and succeed in it, go for it. Sky's the limit.
So we talk about that. Let's transition a little bit into your new role as in recruiting as a marketing non-commissioned officer. The NCO.
Yeah.
And again, one of those jobs that people probably doesn't know exists. It's just one of those things behind the scenes that makes things happen. Helping out recruiters do what they need to do. So what can you break down for us of like what is your new role?
Sure, yeah. So the marketing NCO position in recruiting and retention specifically, a lot of it comes down to, not ad campaigns, but just branding and a lot of messaging in the sense of like, 2 years ago it was, or a couple years ago, it was the next greatest generation is now. Right, so the next one on branding is uncommon is calling. So a lot of it is, imagine like a product, right? They have a specific type of branding. The marketing NCO's job is to take that messaging and be able to spread it across not just the state, but internally as well. So we service a bunch of recruiters, 4 different teams across the state, and that is to produce, create, obtain content around that branding that helps them recruit the next generation of soldiers. And that's the main focus of that is, a lot of it was here, right? When in VI, our job was to get messages out. Same concept applies here. It's just now, hey, we got to show them why the Guard is the Guard, and the Army Guard especially, right? So taking our brand and making it accessible. And also just, I guess you could say, I'm trying to find the best word here, but something that they want to be a part of. Our job is literally to create cool stuff and show off this cool products that we do, whatever, so that they would hope to be enticed to join the Guard to an extent.
Yeah, because I think a lot of that is education.
Big
like
time.
You guys are explaining, here's the thing we do, and reaching out and trying to get into those new markets. Because
Yep.
a lot of people just don't understand the opportunity that exists of
Yeah.
what they want to do. You're an example of that. I'm an example of it. Of what are some jobs that exist? What is something that I want to do? Rather than just a snippet of, okay, here's aviators responded to the wildfire. Here's some folks from the Air Guard that came in and helped on the ground fighting that fire. Like we have deployed airmen and soldiers throughout the world doing very important jobs protecting people throughout the world.
Right.
That people just don't know about.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's, and we had a great opportunity. A lot of kids don't know what they're getting into, right? So being able to go and cover the 957, the bridge crew members, and showing them a video of what they get to do, or showing them what an air defense artillery person gets to do, an MP, that's solely our, is to create those products and also just help and create products to give to recruiters to show them the list of jobs of the opportunities that are in the Guard. We sell a culture that is... we sell a culture, and it's just this is a great opportunity, and you get to do so many different things, and there's so many different avenues you can go to, and that's basically the job of marketing, is to push out all these different opportunities that we get to have. And like you said, you and I are a breeding example of that. I've been in 10 years, and oh my gosh, I have done way more than what I thought I would ever do in the Guard. Yeah, that's basically the principle of it.
So, it's only been a few weeks in the new role. So it might be a little bit, early for this, but have you seen any real shifts in like what potential recruits are looking for? Because I know our recruiters are getting people in every single day, so you have new folks coming in constantly. But like, even though you talk about a decade ago you joined, are you seeing any changes in what's getting people in the door?
You know, there's, I would say the biggest thing that's changed is the approach to getting people in the door. I strongly, I can't for 100% say that I will know this, but the younger kids that are still wanting to join, it's the same way that they feel that you wanted to join. They wanted to be a part of a team. They wanted to serve their country. They wanted to carry on the family tradition. There's still that core element of people that want to join the military. Advertising has changed, right? Social media is a huge push. So those are the things I would say changed. But the main reason why people want to join, I don't think has changed. We always, every generation will say like, these new kids, brah. You know what? They are smart. Or they are so smart. Well, first off, they have access to technology that you and I did not have when we were the age. So they're already smarter. They want to be a part of a team because with social media, sometimes it feels isolating. They still have that core fundamental value of why they're serving, and it's to be a part of a team that has a lasting impact in its community and in its nation. I don't think that has ever changed or will ever change, to be honest.
Yeah, no, those core values of people are just staying the same, right? It's not talking like, we're some old timers here, because I guarantee you people, 20 years our senior, saying the same thing. Of they joined the same reasons we did. It's just, but their difference was probably, I saw an ad in the newspaper.
Right.
We're growing up, I never saw an ad in the newspaper for the military, but I saw the recruiters.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm going to go talk to those guys and figure out what they got to offer.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah, the messaging has changed because we can, we have the ability with social media to have access, or at least get the access to let them see what the Guard has to offer. It's not anymore where, my dad's bud's in the Guard, and he always talks about the Guard. I think I want to do the Guard, or my dad was in the Guard. Those are still there, but we have a much more wider scope of being able to reach them with this. So,
and you talked about storytelling in a couple different forms, videos and photos, and like the new, the uncommon is calling. Which I love the videos that have been produced for that, because they're really good, but it's also, that's for the majority of the people. It's, here's me doing my other job, but looking for something else. So how do you see like storytelling and like great campaigns like that playing a role in attracting the right people to serve?
Yeah. Uncommon is calling is such a powerful message. And that's the best part about the Guard. I mean, we all know that feeling before you even swear in, right? It's, oh gosh, what am I getting into? This is a big commitment. But that's uncommon, right? It's that feeling. It's no different than fear, like when we talked about, right? Like being able to take a step into something that you're so not nervous into, but your body is generally excited reacting about it because you just don't know. And we want those people that dare, in a sense, to join an organization and build themselves to be the next great soldier, the next sergeant major, the next corporal that tells a specialist, hey, we got to do it this way, or vice versa. So, yeah, the messaging is just authenticity, right? Social media can sometimes come off in a way where, another ad, or another whatever. But showing off what we do is the main priority. There's a lot of stigmas out there when you wear a uniform. Okay, you gotta, these guys are soldiers and blah, 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 which we are, right? We have to accomplish our mission. But if you want to be a part of it, you 100% can be if you're qualified. And I think that drive of wanting to be a part of our team and showing off the cool things that we do get to do, the education benefits that we get, or just the benefits that we get for being in the military, will hopefully let somebody say, okay, I want to do this. And you know what? If you're out there and you're like, don't know what you want to do, oh my gosh, sometimes this is the best opportunity because it will give you direction. Like I was going to music, right, for music education and performance. I got activated, and then I was like, this is awesome. I want to do this. And that's what started my full-time career. And now 8 years later, here I am in charge of a marketing team for the Recruiting and Retention Battalion. I never thought I would ever be in this position, ever. But that's the part of Uncommon is on calling, is that there are going to be opportunities out there that you wouldn't even think. And it's so uncommon, but it's awesome. And that's the best part about it. Sometimes it's cool to wake up in the morning and say, okay, what do I got to do today? And you will never know because tomorrow's another day. So,
Yeah, it's always being ready for that. And then when you do a good job, it's oh yeah, that's a person we want. Like the resume speaks for themselves. Like they've done a phenomenal job, which translates right into the civilian market as well. Of okay, here's a military veteran we want because they have all those different traits we're looking for. So one of the things you would usually ask for a question, which I stole because I think it's a great question, is what are some of those common misconceptions or myths that about military life or people that serve that like you think and you can just address through marketing efforts of like you want to kind of beat down.
Well, so with the misconception of the military, right? A lot of in the Guard specifically, we cross the line of, we don't cross the line, but we toe the lines between civilian and military. A lot of people would not necessarily think that I'm going to ever have a civilian life or I'm never going to be able to do what I want to do. That's a pretty big misconception. I've still, I started my own thing and I've been able to grow myself outside of being in the military. So, yes, it's a commitment, but it won't take you away from what you want to accomplish on the civilian side, whether that be education or starting up a business or whatever the case may be. So that's a pretty big misconception. Will times get tough and it's going to be, this juggling thing? Yeah, for sure. But Uncommon is calling, Another misconception is like when you wear a uniform, you forget who you were as a person. Will that change? Will basic training and stuff change you a little bit? Yeah, sure. It'll make you more responsible. You'll start making your bed. May start waking up at 4:30 in the morning and want to go work out.
Ranger rolling all your clothes.
Yeah, sure. But like that's just it won't change you of who you are. The military has shaped people into who they become, right? Through those discipline things where like, okay, well, I should probably wash the dishes, or well, hey, I should probably make sure my clothes, the simple tasks. But you will still be the person you are when you come back from basic training. I'm still Sam. I haven't changed. Well, besides the receding hairline a little bit, I don't think I've changed too much. But I don't think that's the military. I think that's just me. And then another thing too about the military is that we're soldiers, and you're going to be in an organization that doesn't. How do I put it? You're going to be given orders, and you have to follow. And it's going to be this. Hollywood does a great job of it, right? Like a sergeant's going to yell at you, yeah, for maybe basic training and stuff like that. But when you get back to your teams, like those E5s, they become your family. A lot of people think it's just a job and whatever, but it's a brotherhood and a sisterhood. It is a family. It has been my second family. It's the band. That was my second family. My unit was. Every part of leadership was, and sure, they'd yell at you for an order or whatever the case may be, but you start to create that bond and that camaraderie amongst each other, regardless of what's said, and it just becomes that family. So a big misconception is, just I'm going to join this and it's going to be all military, whatever the case. It becomes a second family. It becomes another life. And it's super, the connections I got from it. I called people 8 years ago when I first got in, when I worked at my first job, and they've helped me. Hey, can you help me with changing a door hinge? Now that's not actually the case, but you'll meet those people and you'll create those relationships at all levels, and that's just irreplaceable.
No, I think it's one of those things. If you just look at like, all right, how many group chats am I a part of?
Yeah, and
the ones that are pinned at the top of mine are my military chat groups for the people I work with on weekends. People I used to work with, had a unit do overseas deployment training, and they were with a unit that I used to serve with in another state.
Yeah.
And so guess what? It was, text messaging them, hey, what do you need? Hey, what's going on? Hey, help this person out. And they reached back out too, like, hey, this was great. And I talked to them after the fact. They were super proud of the North Dakotans that went out there. Like, we love them out there.
Yeah.
They're like, they did a phenomenal job. The commander that's out there said, I would love to have them come back and cover us some more because they did such a good job. And I'm like, that's an outstanding recommendation for like the folks that we have in the organization. Like, they want them to come back. Like sometimes, right, like they just did such an amazing job. They're like, yep, we'll 100% take them back. Like, they said his words were, I didn't realize they were from a different area until I noticed that they had cameras.
Yeah.
So he's like, they blended right in. Same uniform helps, but like,
yeah.
he's like, yeah, they did. It was like, I forgot they were there. He's like, we were out shooting on a live fire range till 3 a.m. Your folks were there with us. So just an outstanding job, and like the credibility spoke for itself of what they were able to do. And when I say something like that too, it's a lot of new people in that unit coming in, young folks. So coming in as a new person or somebody that's debating joining, what sort of advice would you give that type of person?
Well, if you're like going through the process and you're wanting to join, and when you do join, like, go at it, man. Go for it. Be that person that seek the opportunities because you have the opportunity to be a part of it. I don't know if it's true, but if the 1% is still the same metric, but you are going to be a part of an organization that not everyone can be a part of. So make it the best you can. And for people that are questioning it, it goes back to what I said a little bit too earlier. But a good analogy I like to do is sometimes to climb a mountain, you have to jump off a cliff. It's that unknown of, oh my gosh, I don't know if I want to. What's stopping you? Take that jump and do it. It could be an opportunity not taken. Could be, a life-changing thing in the future. Now, you can decide when and how, but if you're willing to do it, or if you want to try it, go for it. If you have the opportunity to, why wouldn't you? It's no different if you came to me and said, hey, I've got this awesome event to go cover. Can you do it? And this is a once-in-a-lifetime chance. I'm going to take it, because that opportunity might not come back. And the longer you wait, the more you're going to regret that you would have done it sooner, because life starts to take place, right? Like, you find somebody you want to settle down with. You're going to have kids, being an adult is not easy. So if you can do it and you're at that age and you're questioning it, go for it. Why not? The contracts work in a 6x2, I think, a majority of the time. What's 6 years on an M-Day side for a National Guard person? I think it equates to 365, almost a year of service when you think about it. If you join the Guard, 6x2. So 365 is actually how many days you're going to be in the uniform out of a 6-year contract. Go for it. Like, you could meet the coolest people, and guess what? Those people you're going to meet could be a connection for you in the civilian world. Take it. It's here. Go for it. And then also, too, education. Get your education done. If you have the opportunity, go for it. I mean, oh my gosh, the amount of money it costs to go to college. I didn't have to pay a dime. I didn't complete my degree, but I didn't pay a dime out of it. Take that opportunity. Not everyone gets to say that. It could be a huge stepping stone, not just for yourself, but your future self. A lot of people question, like, why did you serve, right? Well, my dad did. My grandpa did. If you want to take that step on that ladder and build yourself up to be better off than the next person, go for it. You should. It's too good to take or turn down.
So a lot of excitement as usual from you.
Yeah,
so,
sorry.
It's but what are you excited about in the new role?
I'm excited to learn. How do I put it? And this goes back to, like I said, jumping off a cliff, climbing a mountain, and then just fear in general. The best part about starting something new is not knowing something and wanting to know. That's the most exciting part. I get to learn from a very talented individual who held the position before me, but also from the recruiters that have been recruiting for a long time, but also the new folks too. Like, it's going to take some time for me to figure out what I need to do and how I'm going to refine that process of what works for me. But that I guess you could say fear or unknowing of not knowing it is so exciting. That's the most excited part. And at the end of the day, I get to do exactly what I got to do here in VI, and that is service people that I care about, the recruiters, the community, and let them know about the opportunities that we have in the Guard. I still get to have that selfless service portion of it directly with people. So that's what I'm most excited for.
So, what sort of resources would you recommend some people check out?
Sure.
From your team to go check out if they haven't seen them before. I'm sure a lot of people listening have seen them, but
Yeah.
let's say we got a brand new person. Where would you recommend them to go to get some more information from you?
Yeah, I mean, if you're interested in joining the military at all, whether it be especially the Army Guard, check out our website, ndarmyguard.com. You can always follow us on Facebook, Instagram. We've got a bunch of different stuff. Also, that we got a small bit of YouTube on there as well. But Facebook, Instagram, if you want some of that, guess what? If you say contact us now, you hit us up on Messenger, go for it. And then also, too, if you know of somebody that wants to join the Guard or saw what we put on social media, guess what? Talk to a guy that you know in the military or in the Army National Guard, because guess what? He can get you in touch with a recruiter. And at the end of the day, too, find your local recruiting office. Ask the question. I strongly recommend, if you even just have the simplest of question, they're not going to make you swear in right then and there if you go talk to somebody. Sit down, have a conversation with them. Your recruiters are going to be your best subject matter experts when it comes to getting information. But again, you can always do that yourself by going onto our website, etc.
And then the easiest question of all, is there anything we didn't talk about today that you really are like, this is absolutely something that everybody out there needs to know?
I'll just end it this way. This is a tough one because it's so hard to explain. First off, if you're listening online and you've enjoyed me doing these podcasts, I appreciate you 100%. And for all the people that have led me to get here, I appreciate it. And you guys have made my life change in so many different ways, have set me up for success in so many different ways. And that being said, for anyone, if I had anything to say, like if you're in the Guard or not in the Guard and you've stumbled upon this podcast, don't be afraid to ask questions. Take the initiative to build your career, and don't be afraid of being afraid, because failure is sometimes the best point to grow, and you're going to learn so many different things. Become those people, or be that person that you can rely on. Be that person that people call and rely on, etc., and call. At the end of the day, also, too, don't forget who you are and be a person to other people. And, yeah, that's all I got to say. That was way too I'm trying to be a motivational speaker over here.
We'll allow it. But, so, yeah, just thanks for coming on today again, Sam. So, everybody listening, Staff Sergeant Sam Kroll, previously of the Visual Information Office and now the Marketing Non-Commissioned Officer with the North Dakota Army National Guard Recruiting and Retention. Great win for the North Dakota National Guard to have you move up and over to that position. Definitely a bummer losing you on our team, but for the greater good, it's great to have you over with recruiting and retention doing some great things over there.
I appreciate it, and obviously we work jointly together, so just shoot me a call.
Yeah, I'll be seeing you around. It's not like you're really going across the street, basically.
Yeah.
But we'll see you over there. And everyone listening online, thanks for joining us today, and that's our episode.
Peace.